Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Anything Goes with Anna Rose. You have me riding solo today. I am hanging out with you by myself. It's just me and your ear holes today. And that is a very intentional purpose, reason. I'm really not sure the word at the end of that. But why I wanted to jump on before I continue with a slew of phenomenal guests, ranging from more property experts to crypto miners to all of the things, to domestic violence experts, is because I really wanted to take what we have all learned thus far, attempt to put it into somewhat of a bow, put my general perspective on it, and sit with you and really explain essentially where I am coming from, where my decision had already landed. I had literally brought you this slew of guest experts because I had made a decision on my life. And being Anna Rose, I was like, well, I'm not going to gatekeep. I'm always going to take everyone along for the ride. However, what is best for me does not mean that it is best for you. So in this episode, I just looked at the time because I do want to try and keep it to about half an hour and just like get in your ear holes, get out of your ear holes and inspire you for your day and your life. But I really wanted to basically also impart some hope because obviously everyone that I have brought on has brought their own very unique and interesting perspective on the state of the world. And honestly, we've kept it quite surface level. When and if you really start to dive even deeper and understand the deeper economic cycles, the deeper governance going on globally, the debasement of currency. And I will sort of touch on that more so from when I'm sharing my own decision and where I'm at with everything. But I also wanted to instill hope. And I want to start this episode by sharing two reminders that what I'm about to share, what I'm about to go into, what the guests that I'm going to continually bring on this podcast who share their, yet again, unique insights into what is going on globally. Yes, the world is a little fucked, right? Absolutely. It has been since almost the beginning of time. If you're to believe the Bible, then Eve ate the apple, women were fucked for eons, right? If you were to believe science, then it has always been nature has ended our lives more than any government and war. If you are to believe atheism, then you just believe that nothing is by coincidence. It's all just fucked in essence. No matter what you look at, no matter where you look at it, no matter what time in history, no matter how you look at it, no matter what your color, background, race, religion, whatever, there is always going to be this opposing force because where there is good, there is evil. Where there is light, there is darkness. Welcome to Earth, motherfucker, right? What a gift. This is the entire point of it all. I fundamentally believe this. This is just my opinion. But I genuinely believe we have been gifted this existence on earth as a unique individual to experience exactly that, good and bad, light and evil, all of it, every feeling and emotion on the spectrum of emotion. So when we look at the current situation, although it can feel scary, right? The end of an economic cycle, a bubble bursting, Lloyd explained this, but we are already in a recession as well, right? Capitals are in their recession. So there is a lot going on economically. There is a lot going on politically. There is a lot going on financially. There's just a lot that's going on. But underneath all of that is your beautiful, wild, precious life. And I just don't want you to forget that what's the fucking point, right? What is the point of it all? Well, the point, in my opinion, is to live. The point of it all is to not miss the point. Now, you have to pick what that point is for you. For me, it is to live fully, unencumbered, completely free. It is to not miss sunsets. It's to not miss sunrises. It is to do what I want with who I want, where I want, how I want, right? I just never want to miss the point. Now, everything else can be going on in the world, but I have picked decisions since I was 22, so for 15 years, that were always going to lead me home to freedom. And there are two things in this life that are guaranteed, right? Death and taxes. No matter where you live, even in Dubai, there's still, very, very tiny taxes, but there's still taxes, right? And so when you look at that you were born terminal, because you were, the second you were born, you started to die. We are born to die. When you really start to grasp that, and when you start to really think about that fact, what are you doing with your one wild, precious life? Doesn't matter what other people are doing, right? Don't become that person that creates a life that looks good for other people. I am blessed. I don't want to say that I've never been lucky, but I've been blessed to just have this innate desire and burning within me that I will never, ever, ever make choices, and I have never created a life for myself that looks good on the outside to other people so that other people can appreciate it or respect me. I have always lived, even when I was at the depths of despair and a shitbag, it was still for me. It was all for me. I didn't give a fuck what other people thought, right? So when you look at this, when you look at the fact that you are currently dying and you were born to die, and the only guaranteed thing in this lifetime is that you will die, what are you doing with your life, right? What are the choices that you are making with your life? Now, irregardless or irrespective of what is happening on the macro level, what are you doing for your life on the micro level? And that's what this episode is really about. I looked up the statistics on the average lifespan for an Australian. I live in Australia. I am Australian. And the average lifespan of an Australian is 85 years, right? If you're a woman, 81 years if you're a man. Now, yes, technological advancements, AI, all of those phenomenal things are obviously increasing our lifespan 100%. However, if you still take that average lifespan, you have, give or take, on average, so if we take 81 and 85, the average is 83.4 or something, you have 83 years on this spinning ball of gas, right? 83 years. Now, I'm 38, so what is that for me? 47, 46, 85. No, I'm 37. Take 37. 48. So I have 48 summers left. Potentially. I could have more, but I could abso-fucking-lutely have less, right? So if I look at 48 summers, I'm not looking to you. I'm not in your inbox going, well, what are you going to do? How are you? What should I be doing? What should I be doing? I'm looking at that and I'm going, well, the only guaranteed thing in this lifetime for me is death and taxes. I have on average about 48 summers left. What the fuck do I want to do with my life? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to be? How do I want to show up when I'm there? Right? And that's where it led me in my choices, which I'm going to talk on. But that's what I most want you to get. If we stop the episode here, whatever, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it is, and you walked away and you just got that into your DNA, that you are a unique, brilliant spark of energy that is not here by chance. It is completely by choice, that you had a 1 in 400 trillion chance of being born, 1 in 400 trillion. And here you are, a walking, talking, breathing miracle. What are you doing with that life, right? You are currently spinning on a ball of gas in an infinite universe, and we are tilted just perfectly millimeters enough away from the sun to not burn to death. The atmosphere is at its perfect temperature to not freeze us to death. And we are spinning in an infinite black hole of consciousness of this infinite universe. And you're stressed out about what your neighbor's doing or what the fuck you're going to do with your life. I just want you to get this, right? You're in control. This is your life, your choices, your decisions. And I just want to remind you, what are you going to do with them? Because no one is coming to save you. Not me, right? And especially not the fucking government at all. They're who is what has gotten us into this mess. They are who is what is going to keep us in this mess. And they are about to obliterate most nations even more at the rate that they're printing money, the debasement of currency that is going on right now. So what are you doing with your life? What do you want to do with your one proud, precious, proud. What are you doing with your one beautiful, wild, precious life, right? That is the question of the day. Now, when you look at everything we have discussed, right, and I have said this over and over and over again, that it is not a matter of if you invest in investments anymore, an asset class, it is a must. So when you look at that and you go, okay, so I have a principal place of residence. Maybe you have a home and you've been thinking, fuck, what should I do? Should I sell that? Should I free up some of my cash? Should I put it into other investments? Whatever you are currentely deciding, do you have cash in the bank? And you're like, okay, well, shares and crypto is kind of where I'm leading. Do you have no money and you are more of the ilk that I've been banging on about, just go get a job, earn more money to put more money away. And then maybe you put that in a high savings yield account that will start to grow some of your income so that you can invest more down the track. Wherever you are at, what I most want you to understand and look at is you have to and you get to make a decision for you. You've always had that power. This has always been the case. But I think more than ever in this beautiful world where jurisdictional competition has opened up, and this is where I'm headed, I'm leading the conversation there, right? For me, that feels incredible. For me, that feels very free. For me, that is the best decision that I believe I can make for my life, and Ryan agrees with his. When I met Ryan, I've shared this so many times, but his big thing was, look, you've traveled the world. Like, you have lived this extraordinary, insane life, and I have. And he said, that's what I want to do. That's kind of my era now, because he had 3 kids. And so he was like, I want more kids and I want to give you kids. I want to have babies with you. And I still want to travel the world. Could you imagine like my soulmate sparks going off? And I was like, well, fuck, that is exactly who I am. That is exactly what I want. So although I am very speaking much for me, it's because I will never speak for another, right? So when I'm like, this is best for me, it is also best for Ryan, because Ryan has to come to that decision on his own. What's really powerful as well, I will say, and I've said this to Ryan, I feel incredibly blessed, but it is not by choice or chance. I've had divorces and ended horrible relationships that I'm so grateful that we are on the 100% same page. And I'm getting a lot of DMs right now of incredible women saying, you know, I really want to do this, but it's going to be impossible to convince my husband. And I'm like, yeah, I've got no advice. Like, that's fucked. That's really hard. That is a really hard, shitty situation to be in. And beautifully and gratefully, there's also decisions like ending a relationship or divorce, which is exactly what I had done 4 or 5 years ago. So, and again, that could be your choice right now. An asset class is investing in yourself, and maybe that's where your decision leads you. So where I have landed is to obviously move countries, right? We're still looking at it. We will figure it out. We want to travel to all the countries that we're looking at. We want to spend a couple of weeks there, assimilate. So staying in an apartment that we will in the price range, because when I travel, we're like, yeah, we have no budgets, right? So we will spend a lot of money, and that's beautiful, and I'm so grateful, and what a life I've created for myself. And when you move somewhere, it's a little bit different. So I said to Ryan, we're going to go to all the countries that we're currently looking at over the next 6 to 12 months. We're going to spend 1 to 2, 3 weeks there, the ones that we've sort of never been before, or I haven't, or he never, but I haven't for a very long time, and assimilate. Right. So we're going to spend some time renting an apartment that would be in the price range that we will rent in. We will live a normal life. So we won't be tourists. We will wake up early. We will go to the gym. We will go to a shop. We will cook our own food. We will connect in with the local community. We're really going to assimilate, and we will make our decision. Now, we have landed there, or I have landed there. Again, I don't want to speak on behalf of him, but I had landed there because when I look at my own value set, right, when I look at all of those things that I said right at the start, that we're on a ball of spinning gas in an infinite universe, suspended just enough from the sun and with this perfect atmosphere to not die, I don't fucking want to waste that. And I'm not going to waste that. And I have lived for the last 15 years with freedom as my number one value. Now, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe definitely 5 years ago, maybe even 1 year ago, no one was on podcast talking about basically jurisdictional competition, the fact that the world is opening up more, the fact that there is a lot going on economically, politically, that is inspiring people, especially with money, to go, actually, is the government operating in it in my best interest? And if they're not, what government is? Is my country currently doing enough for me, because I'm doing everything for it, to keep me here? Right? That was not even a conversation I was listening to on podcasts a year ago. But in the last 6 to 12 months, the more volatile it has become in markets, in all markets, so especially economically and politically, powerfully, it has opened up this conversation of jurisdictional competition. And that's where I have landed, right? Now, all of my own decisions up until this point have led me here because I invested in things that I've talked about this so much. Property was never my asset class. Wasn't interested. Didn't make me feel free. Returns for me weren't high enough, right? So I never invested in it. And now what I love is that I have this opportunity to pick and pack up my life. I also chose to have children later. Again, so fucking consciously, very, very consciously. I divorced at 33, knowing that I wanted babies, that, that wasn't our path, and I was choosing very consciously. And that was scary because I was like, I'm 33. All my friends at that point had babies, right? So all of these really fucking hard, sacrificial choices that I have made have led me here. Why I'm telling you this is like, where are you at in your life where you can make decisions either now or soon or in the future that is going to lead you home? And to you to true alignment, and to you into a position and a place where you feel most empowered, most free, and most happy, or whatever else, most integral and loyal and with your family, whatever your value set is. My values is health and freedom. It was always health, freedom, and integrity, and then it became health, freedom, and femininity. And femininity for me was because I wanted to surrender more. I wanted to trust more. I wanted to flow more. I wanted to flirt with life more, right? I'd done the masculine push, strive hard, motivate, earn the millions, do the things, sacrifice for 10 years ultimately, right? I've made very hard decisions. I've been incredibly clever and smart and careful with my investment strategies to get me to this place now. So where I am at now, where we are at now, is that we are looking, as I said, in the next 6 to 12 months to definitely move from Australia. And that is absolutely for our wealth building strategy, but it is also for lifestyle. So when I look at personally, and I've said this so many times on this podcast, but the absolute straw that broke the camel's back for me was the Australian Financial Review. Blame them when they released the study or the information, the headline, that over 50% of Australians were officially relying on government welfare or the government for their main source of income. Now, I want to reiterate in this as well. That's not over 50% on just welfare. That's on the government tit, right? And what I mean by that is either they're on a government salary, so they're in a public sector job, or they're on welfare. But ultimately, they rely on the government as their main source of income. And a large proportion of that is absolutely welfare, but a large proportion of that is also government public sector jobs. And that is not conducive to an economically sound, monetarily safe nation, right? And Adam Hudson said it on a podcast recently, and he said, and it was the greatest example I have ever heard. It's crass in essence, but I was like, that's it. That's 100% it. And he said, Australia is like the hot girl. And it's true. When you've traveled the world, I'm a baby, right? I've only done 45 countries. I think it's 46 countries now, 160 something cities around the world. And that's still nothing to me. I want to see them all. So, but every time you travel, anywhere I've traveled in the world, I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful to go home to Australia. It is the hot girl, right? Australia is the hot girl you want to be with, you want to be seen with, you want to date, or the hot guy, right? For us, the hot guy. But right now and progressively, he's gotten a really shit personality. In fact, in my opinion, I'll say guy because this is more relative. So Australia is the hot guy. And it started off really good. The relationship started off really good. And then his personality started to turn to shit. And in essence, a little bit, I've started to move into a domestic violent relationship with Australia. I am gaslit by the government. I am abused in the tax system completely. And I want out. I'm going to break up. You don't stay with a hot guy with a shit personality that is starting to show signs of DV. Now, again, this is my take. This is my opinion. This is my decision, right? This does not make it right for you, and it doesn't make it your decision either. But this is where I'm saying I have so much conviction and so much passion because I know my asset class. I chose my asset class. And I own my asset class, as in I just aggressively go in with shares and crypto. So when I landed to this point and this decision, and I was like, actually, with this really beautiful, powerful jurisdictional competition now, I was like, I can look elsewhere. Like, wow, I could go and become a non-tax resident of Australia and set up tax residency in another country with marginal to minimal to no tax. So, and we're looking absolutely at Dubai for the tax strategy. And so I will pay 5% in essence on individual tax, which is phenomenal, not 37% here. Even though I've got clever trusts and company setups, it kills you. You work to pay tax in Australia now, right? And it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse, which is exactly that's what told me, along with the over 50% of Australians being on the government tit, where Australia was headed. And see, other commentators say it hasn't fallen. To me, I know we can come back from it, and I know that I can fight for Australia outside of Australia. But I definitely I'm out, right? I'm like, if you had a girlfriend in a DV relationship, would you beg her to stay? Would you demand that she stay? Absolutely not. So that's where we're at, which is really, really exciting. The other thing I wanted to say, so that's what I want to say. In saying that, I want to take it back to my values, right? So my values are freedom and health. So when you think about that, when you think about freedom and health as my highest values, why, for me, when I look at all my options, so keep working like a dog for minimal to no benefit. In essence, the beaches are great. So they are in the Maldives, right? And I can pop there now, over there anytime I want. So I get all the reasons why Australia is so amazing, but they're not. The opportunity cost for me now is too great for me to stay. Again, I want to reiterate for you, they are my values though. And this is where I want you to get really crystal clear on your values. So what I want you to take from this episode is, number one, you are such a unique, brilliant spark of energy that had a 1 in 400 trillion chance of being born. What the fuck are you doing with your life? Are you living as such? Number two, I wanted you to understand that, we are spinning on this infinite conscious ball of gas, which is such a gift and so unique. And are you living in accordance with that? Stop being so plugged into the despair. I'm hopeful. I'm so excited, right? I'm like, wow, look at the opportunities. Wow, how incredible I can go build wealth elsewhere and then come back eventually. Maybe not. I'm just so surrendered and unattached. I probably will. I'm sure that we will. But I'm young. We're young. So who knows, right? I think also Australia is going to continuously move the goalpost because I think that they are in for an incredible world of hurt, and the government's going to because it's an abusive partner. I think they're going to get incredibly angry at all of the wealth that is currently shipping offshore thanks to their own doing. It's like hitting a woman and being like, it's your fault. Right? That's the government right now. I could not explain this more clearly, having been in a DV relationship, than we're all in a domestic violent relationship with the government. That is hitting us and hitting us and hitting us and hitting us, then gaslighting us saying they're not. And then when and if they finally do admit it, they're like, but it's your fault, right? It's wild. And that to me is the increase in taxes. That is even the offense of telling us that inflation is at like 2 to 3%, whilst they're printing money at a rate so damaging. And this goes for all governments globally right now, right? So not some, the ones that have jurisdictional competition, they're great. They're thriving. They're doing okay. But printing money, which is debasing the currency, and this is where I also am. I'm going to bring some Bitcoin experts on. I want them to talk about it. I'm just a lowly investor in it, right? But I'm going to absolutely bring a few incredible men on, and I can have a really powerful conversation with it, right? Because I'm a woman that heavily, aggressively invests in crypto, aka Bitcoin. But I am in this beautiful position, recognizing the first 2 points I made, and the third one, knowing so deeply my values, which is freedom and health of the mind, health of the body, health of the spirit, health of the finances, right? It's not just physical health. Where when I look at my position in Australia, I'm like, wow, what a gift that I have an opportunity that I can choose to be elsewhere and actually then gain more freedom and gain more health of the mind, the body, the spirit, the finances, etc. Now, that's me making a choice based on pure and true alignment. You get to do that for yourself now, because life is also, right, not just maths and tax. It's your value set. Maybe your values, like I say this all the time, your highest value, Ryan's definitely wasn't, even though he's had kids, and I own the shit out of this as well. When I've always done my values, I love my mum, I love my siblings, we're close as fuck, I love my family, I love them to death. I'd do anything for them. They know that because I do everything for them, right, when they need it. But family is not my highest value. So when I look at moving out of Australia and I'm like, oh, it's so sad I'll be away from my family, I'm like, cool, they can come visit me. For you, if that is gnawing at your soul, it's probably not the best decision for you. And you are better off staying here and then getting this really beautiful mindset about why and being like, okay, I'm going to stay here. And so let me look at all the positives. Let me look at some asset classes that I can choose here now that will set me up a little bit better, right, than what I am. And maybe I was speaking to a woman the other day, and I don't give any financial advice, right? But she was like, thanks to your conversations and thanks to just educating ourselves through you and this is the most powerful thing, going away and doing more research and running our own numbers. Her and her husband have just like sold their principal place of business because it was a money trap. I think the dream of owning your own home in Australia is the dumbest one I've ever heard. Sorry, but I just genuinely have always said that since I was young. That you rent from the bank is the way that I look at it. But then you carry all the risk. It's wild. Anyway, so she sold her principal place of residence. They're taking their lot of cash that they've made from that decision and they're putting it in investments that now and asset classes that feel really good for them, and they sat and they worked out their values and they did all the things. They've just been able to take their kids on their first ever family holiday. She's like, it was my number one dream in my whole life was to put my kids on a plane and go take them on a holiday, and she just did that because they actually sold their home. And she's like, now we rent, we're the happiest we've ever been. I'm like, beautiful. You did that. You made those choices, right? But there are a lot of people making some really cool, really clever, really smart, really value-driven, authentically aligned decisions that they would not have, I can guarantee you, myself included, been making a year ago. So I wrote notes because I really didn't want to I really didn't want to forget anything, and I've pretty much covered them all. This is what I love. Yeah, I literally nailed it, you guys. I wanted it short. I wanted to not forget anything. I think the big thing for me, I wrote about Bitcoin on here, but I really do want to do an entire episode separate to that, just like I have for property, just like I did for business, right? Just like I have for shares. I absolutely want to get some big dogs in the Bitcoin world on who have all said yes to come in and have a conversation around that as an asset class. But what you get to understand while I share and I don't gatekeep, for me, my obsession and separation season right now is around investing and around money and around making sure we're set up. And so also kids and family, etc., will be safe when and if the world continues to turn to shit. What I will say and what I will share on this episode, because it fits with my decision making, when I choose my asset class as well, you have to understand it is completely true to my values, right? Shares made sense to me when I was 25 because I sat in a room and my brilliant accountant at the time went through asset classes. In essence, he didn't explain it like that. But he basically was like, it's property or shares. And then he was like, but with property, here are the cons, here are the pros. With shares, here are the cons, here are the pros. But what's your value? And I knew it. So that was a gift. I knew it. I said freedom. And he said, well, would property make you feel free? And I said, absolutely not. And he said, well, would shares make you feel free? And I said, absolutely. I can invest in a company that I don't own, but I can have an own of, a share of, right? And the chart just goes up and to the right with a few corrections along the way. And as long as I hold it and don't sell, then I'm safe. That I was like, I literally have to do nothing, get 9 to 10% return a year. Brilliant. That was 13. Along came 2017 and I first learned about the blockchain and crypto. And I only learned about it because it was a bull market at the time. And a really cool guy friend came to me and was like, mate, you're like clever. Like you understand, well, you know, you're kind of into this different stuff, right? Because I was in network marketing. I love that he thought of me. Sean. I've always thanked him, by the way. I've talked to Sean so many times and been like, thank you for being the one to guide me to this asset class, essentially. Anyway, it was a bull market. People were making a lot of ridiculous money, really more so on altcoins, which is what I got into at the time, and Ethereum. And I left it at the time. So he came to me and said, take a look. And I read multiple white papers. But what I was most interested in was the technology, right? Even back then, so 2017, I had started to grow a disdain. We all know I'd spent 4 years in federal politics. I rebelled within politics. So I worked for a federal member of parliament. He was a brilliant he was a rebel himself, right? He was naughty on the floor. Like he was a king. I fucking love Dennis. I still do to this day. We still keep in touch. So a big thing for me was when I started to understand and learn the blockchain. And this is all, by the way, if you're like, I want to understand this more, I break the blockchain down in a female but intellectual way in Earn Like You Love Yourself. Go by Earn Like You Love Yourself. Go on YouTube, first of all, and just go, what is blockchain if you want it for free? If you want a more concise, laid out explanation from my voice and how I see things, which people do like, I have all of this in Earn Like You Love Yourself. So I learned of blockchain, and the biggest thing that I became obsessed with, and I just was like, fuck, this is the future, was that it was decentralized and no government or corporation controlled it. And I hated even then in 2017, I was rebelling against corporations and government. I didn't like centralization. I didn't like censorship. And so when I introduced myself to the blockchain and I started to understand it, I was like, oh my God, this is decentralized currency. This is decentralized ownership. This is the most clever technology I have ever seen in my whole life. So I started to invest in altcoins and Ethereum because I believed in the technology, right? Q 2022, I started an NFT. And again, let me tell you, the only reason why I did it like that was because if I could have created my own blockchain, which I'm not a billionaire, so I couldn't have, right? Like if I could have created a DAO and a decentralized blockchain where I could host my entire business model of the Awakened Woman and Talk Collective, I fucking would have done it. But I'm not a billionaire. I always have the vision and I do whatever I can within the technology and what I have. Back then it was NFTs, and it's still the best way to have entered for me. But why I attached my utility to an NFT, it's not about the NFT. The NFT for me unlocks things. It's a piece of code on a blockchain, and the NFT is the key, right? 2017 started to invest in blockchain, so Ethereum and altcoins. I have not invested in altcoins since 2017. 2022, I started my own NFT. And then since then I've invested in Ethereum and Bitcoin. Now, and also more recently, actually, something I'm going to bring the billionaire who literally, and I cannot wait to interview him to be like, haha, I did it first. You were just a billionaire that had more money. But he's literally, him and a couple of other billionaires have created their own blockchain in essence, with an array of Web2 companies. So there's like a similar Zoom on there. There's an Uber on there. There's lots of different things, and it's all decentralized, right? Which is what I love. So they don't even own it. The community, the node holders own it, which again is all blockchain. And if this is confusing you, I'm going to do a whole episode on it. But why I'm going a bit more deeper into this is everything I've just said, right? So now all of my investments have been still shares, minor shares though. It's very aggressive and bullish on Bitcoin. And then a few diversification portfolios within that. I have an incredible AI portfolio that bets on futures and shorts and all the things, and that's like a 20%-ish return a month, which is fucking insane. That portfolio is closed. I shared that in my inner circle. This is the thing. If you are connected to me, I never fucking gatekeep. So even that, 12% a month is the average for that. So 12% a month, it was just one of my last trade was 24% in like a week, which was wild. So everything I do for me now is predominantly in crypto. So in the blockchain, I want to say that in the blockchain. So Bitcoin, I still have my Ethereum holdings. And now this new blockchain, which I'm really aggressive on, I just dropped $40,000 into it, or we did, Ryan and I. He's always partner on me now with these new things. And I'm going to get the owner of that, one of the owners, to come on. He's agreed to sit and have a conversation. He'll be on the screen and I'll be in here because I will share that. I don't want to keep that, but everything is a risk, right? So is dating dickheads at the end of the day. But why I've just shared all that, number one is to also explain the Australian government more than ever is also coming. The reason why I loved crypto was that I don't really trade with it yet. I hold a lot of it. I absolutely plan on using it more like a currency, especially the Bitcoin. That's how it's going to become the sound money of the world, the next gold one fundamentally. I fully believe that, non-negotiable. But why I have been investing the way that I've been investing is also because it was decentralized and it was more away from the government. I just hold things. I don't really sell it. I'll pull little bits here and there, but not really. However, the Australian government is starting to dig their little dirty DV paws more and more and more. They have complete access to your exchanges. If you're not a day trader, right, because there's too many trades for them to execute on that. But if you do pull any crypto, any capital, so any profit you make triggers a capital gains event, essentially, right? So for me, as a heavy crypto investor, and I have been since 2017 and will continue to be, what incentive do I have to stay in Australia with all the millions that I'm like, right? Where's the incentive? I pay all my company tax. I pay all my individual tax. I pay so much fucking tax. But when you start to come for more and more and more and more, I'm not going to stay in an abusive relationship, right? You look at even like, that's why property is becoming less and less appealing for me. In Queensland, I don't think it's everywhere else, but in Queensland, the state government just introduced a view tax. So if you live above the fourth floor, your rates just increase by 50%, right? Fucking insane. I know we've talked about it, but there is they touted or talked about a spare bedroom tax at the recent economic forum here in Australia. It's just wild. They're now saying how they potentially will, they're looking to tax the principal place of residence, beg your pardon. So your home that a lot of Australians have bought, saved, paid off, right? Because they're like, well, I'm not going to rent it out because I don't want to trigger a capital gains tax event. Too bad. So sad. That's what the government's bringing or potentially bringing in, but I absolutely think they'll bring that in. So for me, and that's another reason why I was like, property's not for me. It's so heavily regulated and it's so heavily taxed. And now, and for a long while, they've started to do that in crypto. However, the way that the world had started to turn, the way that I started to see the macro and the micro play out, the way that I watched politically and economically things go down, especially debasement of currencies, in a lot of countries, but also in Australia, I got more aggressive into investing into crypto portfolios and looking to diversify my own investments. Cue the one that I found, so that is like an AI. So AI trades. It's not me. I'm not trying to play the market. It's not a bro that's trying to play the market. It's AI. And thus far, it's on average delivering, like I said, 12% return. So we keep topping that up every time it executes a trade and we see that it's nailed it. We're like, have a little bit more because you're on a run. Now, the numbers on this is if I stayed, so on average, it returns 12% a month, say 12% on a return pretty much, right? If I move offshore, right, and so that's my crypto portfolio. That is crypto. So it's USDT at the time, and then I can transfer it into either Bitcoin or Ethereum or cash, whatever I want. But I'm aggressive on crypto, so I put it into Bitcoin. If and when I then choose to, say, wanted to withdraw some crypto and use it as fiat or whatever else, or I'm utilizing my crypto wallet and portfolio at spending, in Australia, the government wants a piece of that, which they absolutely don't deserve, right? Just like they don't deserve, I'm sure you're not like, yes, govern me harder, daddy, tax my principal place of residence, right? The person that meet me in the comments on this podcast. If you're happy for the government to if you are happy for the government to put a view tax on your home, to tax your principal place of residence, to capital gains tax your principal place of residence, to tax your spare bedrooms, come at me in the comments and we can have a discussion on that. So when I say I don't want the government to keep taking slices of my crypto investments, where do you think and what do you think I'm going to do? I, as a sovereign individual who praises the sovereignty, right, and freedom above all else, it's one and the same, I'm going to move to a country that respects that. I'm going to move to a country that rewards people with those investments, right, like Dubai, that have a 0% tax on capital gains. Now, why I'm doing this as well is, for me, when I look at the numbers, so if I look at my portfolios and I go, okay, so if I move to a country that's taxed at 0% on capital gains, and then if I want to make moves and withdraw and do certain things and I'm only taxed at 5% versus 37% individually or more, it's higher, it depends how clever my accountants are, right? And where we distribute income, or 25% in a company, but I can get 5% individually in Dubai and 0% on capital gains tax, the difference in my wealth over 5 years is over 70% just from moving countries, right? So of course it makes sense for me. But you got to understand, I don't know how long I've been talking now. I think it's 40 minutes. I wanted to keep this at half an hour, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I wanted you to understand, and I wanted to record this episode so you could hear a woman so deep in her fucking conviction, so certain about her decisions, but why, right? Why I am. I've made sound investment decisions. I've known the asset class that is most true to me because I've always followed my values. Now, again, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So if you're like, oh, well, that's all good and well for you, Anna, but I'm a single mom and I'm on the bones of my house, get more income, save your income and begin today. You could open a Raise account, right? I always say if people don't know where to start, open a Raise account. Dollar cost average, $1 in there a day. $5 a week, whatever it takes, right? You're straight away into the share market. It's micro investing. So any objection I ever meet, I'm like, I'm going to have a clap back or a comeback because I'm like, yes, good for me, or yes, it's all good and well for me. But remember where I've come from, and because I have made decisions on my life, taken radical responsibility, healed all of my shadows, done all of the work, I can sit here today and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what it looks like. This is why. And you can too. But making damn sure it's in the truest, purest alignment to you and your values and who you are and what feels and looks best for you in your life. Fuck everybody else, right? Forever and amen. You have to do this for you. So I will wrap it up there. I hope you got something out of this. I cannot wait to bring some more guest experts on. I will keep bringing all types on as well. Do you know this? So funny, since I've started to do this and since I started an Instagram page and really started to double down on the podcast, I would get 4, 5 requests from big names, like big people, especially on LinkedIn, a week at the moment, like asking, hey, can I come on the podcast? I run this company, or I own this company, or I have this crypto thing, or this whatever. Like I love your taboo, no rules, your conversation style. Please let me on. And I'm vetting them. Most I've said no, or like you can come on soon, but I still have such a vast, brilliant, incredible network that I want to leverage still first. And then I'm like, and then you can come on. So there will be more guests. I still am so committed to bringing you every asset class. This is what I want to say. I'm not going to become like a maximalist on one asset class. Mine's Bitcoin, right? And obviously crypto, but I refuse to become a maximalist on it because I am in my own life, but to educate you, because I do think it's really pertinent and powerful to hear your asset class on here, right? Because it could be property, it could be shares, it could be crypto, it could be self, it could be business. And also then actually hear the other, right? Hear the other one. So hear about property if you're crypto, hear about crypto if you're property, hear about shares if you're business, and really start to just open up the conversation and the lens on your own life that, you know, maybe it's you want to swap from property to crypto or crypto to shares or whatever else, but making sure that you understand fundamentally, as I keep saying, it is not a matter of if anymore. It is a matter of you must invest in an asset class. The government is not coming to save you. Our currency is not safe. They are printing money way too fast and way too quick. If, you know, it's literally fiat money is now just like government prints money and this is our money and so you get to have it. It's not gold backed. We can't trade shells anymore, unfortunately. We can't trade rocks. And so it's just a really dynamic, interesting, wild time to be alive. You get to be in complete control, however. You get to really double down on your values, on who you are and what you want, and make decisions for you, by you, for the best for your life. I will leave it there, my friends. Until next time, as always, stay wild. And of course, if you loved this episode, I would be so honored if there's someone in your life that you know needs to hear this, to have these conversations. If you want to just have these conversations with your friendship group, send them the episode and say, hey, there's this crazy chick that's talking all this shit. I would love for you to listen and let's unpack it, right? Like, let's go for a walk and a coffee and let's talk about it because I'm really hungry to learn more. Maybe you can be my accountability partner or whatever that looks like. But share it. It helps me get the podcast out there. It helps me get even bigger name guests on, of course. And yeah, I'm always just so grateful. Thanks, guys. Bye.